Hey everybody, it's Andy, back with My Side of the Fence podcast. I think this is episode 5 maybe, and I'm here with an interesting guy that a lot of people in the community know, Dr. Mike Perez. He is, how long have you been practicing over there, Mike?
35 years.
35 years. Long-time community resident. My family goes there. I feel like most of the people in the community go there. And Mike generally knows everybody. So, welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Andy's great to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah. So I generally start these all off the same way. And that's kind of like, you went to school at Notre Dame, right?
Yes.
So how did you end up in Manassas? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah. Kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. Born in Richmond, Virginia. Lived there for about 6 years. My father transferred and went out to Kansas City, Missouri. Lived there for 4 years, so go Chiefs. And then we were there for a couple of years, and then he decided to transfer again. And we ended up in Columbus, Ohio.
Was he in the same company?
Well, actually, he's a family doctor also.
Okay.
And he just couldn't find the right place to be. And kept trying to find the right place. Anyhow, my father's another interesting story, but he's from Ecuador, and he came here to do his residency in OBGYN of all things.
Okay.
And then he decided that he was going to stay in the United States. He met my mom. So anyhow, we ended up in Columbus, Ohio, went to Notre Dame for undergrad, met my wife, Helen.
At Notre Dame?
At Notre Dame. Helen Ringler. The story about that is I was her biology lab TA, and we were dissecting fetal pigs, so we fell in love over a fetal pig.
All right. You're a hopeless romantic.
It's hopeless. So she was 2 years behind me in school, so she had to finish 2 more years. I went off to med school in Ohio. And then she decided to take a job in Hartford, Connecticut. My heart was breaking. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work out. And so after she graduated, I proposed thinking, okay, maybe I can,
right.
And so she says, okay, yes. But I'm still moving to Hartford, Connecticut. And my father was hoping I was going to come back over and take over his practice in Columbus, but I did not want to do that.
Right.
So we went out to Hartford, Connecticut, and I finished up my med school out there. And then when it came time for me to find my residency, her father started getting ill. Her father, you may have heard of Dr. John Ringler.
I think a lot of people know Dr. Ringler.
He delivered a lot of people.
He sure did.
He and Dr. Latimer, Bob Latimer, were in practice together. A whole another interesting story there. But so when I started to look around for residencies, her father was getting ill. Helen was like, maybe we should get back closer to home so I can be near my dad.
Right.
And so fortunately, I was able to get into the Fairfax Hospital residency for family practice. And so we moved here. Unfortunately, during my residency, he passed away. Yeah. He had really bad emphysema. Mm. And so one thing I didn't know, which was really pretty cool, and I only found this out like maybe 15 years ago, I gotten a letter. Someone gave it to me. I don't know who gave it to me. It may have been my residency director. And it was a letter from Bob Latimer stating, you guys would be fools not to bring this guy into the residency. We want him to come out here to Manassas. I didn't know any of that and that communication had happened, which I thought was really, really cool.
That is cool.
So I have a soft heart for that.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, we got down here and we decided, after finishing my residency, Tad Latimer, Bob Latimer's son,
right,
had taken over the practice because he had passed away actually 2 weeks from when Dr. Ringler passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're both in the hospital betting on who was going to die first. Just the kind of guys they were.
Right.
And so when he passed away, Tad was here, and Tad said, hey, I'm looking for someone to join me. And he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Right.
Came out here, and so that's how I'm here.
Is med school as rough as it sounds like? It almost sounds like qualifying to be a SEAL.
Well, I can tell you that because we see a lot of people coming through now and what they're going through, and we hear all the stories and so forth. So back then in med school was med school is always rough no matter what year you're going. I mean, it just takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. You're learning lots of stuff.
Right.
And so then you go into your training, which I think was the harder part. So the residency is what happens after. So you pick a specialty,
right,
and you go into that specialty, and so it can be anywhere between 3 and 7 years for residency, but that's where they really kind of crunch you, because they're trying to teach you really everything you learn in med school. Now you're going to apply it,
right.
And so you have a lot of people who are helping you, but a lot of being on call every 3 or 4 nights at the hospital. That's pretty rigorous, and they now have laws you can't do that anymore.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so it used to be... No more hazing. So I think it's like 12 hours. You can only be responsible for patient care for 10 to 12 hours. Ours was 36. It was brutal.
I mean, 12 hours seems like it makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it totally made sense.
Right?
Well, and also when you get that far along in making decisions, I think some critical decisions at nighttime.
Yeah. Even when you're young.
Yeah, and so it made sense. Thank God for the nurses. They were great. So
is that right?
Oh, so if a problem came up and you're sitting there thinking about it, it's like, and she'll go, well, do you want to give them X, Y, or Z? Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great. So we had a lot of support from the nursing when we were going through residency, but that was probably the hardest part of residency. And then once you get at that and get into practice, it's a whole different world, though.
Sure. Now, this residency... That's usually done at like a teaching hospital or something? Yeah.
So, for example, like UVA has their own medical school, and then they will also then have their residency training programs, a whole bunch of different ones. And so there are some places, especially like in family medicine, where you may not be really hardly tied to a hospital or a teaching hospital, but usually you're going to have to do some work in the hospital, so you have to have some affiliation.
Right.
What was really cool about my training at Fairfax is my first year was all Fairfax Hospital, just everything, you go through everything there. And then the second and third years was mostly outpatient. That's really what we do.
Right.
So we went through lots of, we would go to like an endocrinologist or a neurologist or whatever and spend a month with them, just follow them around.
So you get a little bit of everything.
Correct. And then the really cool thing was that this residency, they allowed you to have your own patient panel. So for example, people would come in, I would be their doctor for 2 years. And that was where I really, learned my chops of how to really do family medicine.
Right. And you wanted to do family medicine all along or that?
Well, that was interesting because my father was
family
medicine. One of my favorite stories is that, and I think this really solidified in my mind I wanted to be a family doctor. So he had me come in and he was going to take a lump off someone's back.
Right.
And so we do we do everything sterilely and so forth. Right. And then he starts talking to the guy and he hands me the instruments. Now, I was in med school. I wasn't even, okay, I wasn't a doctor yet. He hands me the instruments and he just kind of, showed me what to do and, talked to the guy and talked to me and we're doing this, doing that. And so I was like, this is awesome. I mean, this is a cool thing to do because, most people equate family medicine with just taking care of your colds and your sicknesses and your medical problems. But I was like, ooh, I get to do something surgical too. And I was like, that was really cool. But my father played a big role in wanting me to do that. I think that had I not been family medicine, though, I would have liked surgery.
Yeah.
I love doing things with my hands. Yeah. So but I looked at that lifestyle. I was like, nope.
It's a lot.
Oh my! Well, like Mark Bartolozzi, one of my best friends, you know him, and that guy he's probably one of the best surgeons I know, but it's just the amount of effort and time and sacrifice.
It's a lot. Growing up, one of my best friends was Latham White, Dr. White's son.
Sure.
And so I spent, a fair amount of time in their home, and and I'll never forget. He had this phone set up. And this was, the late 70s, right? Early 80s.
Yeah.
Where, you had to switch, if he was on call, you had to turn this ringer on. And it seemed like, not every time I was over there, but a lot of the times, he had to go.
Right.
Something had gone sideways and off he went.
Yeah.
And
that's tough. That's a tough lifestyle.
that guy. He worked hard, man.
He and Wampo, I think, weren't they together?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were here a long time, and so.
Well, and Dr. White, he learned all that in a MASH unit in Vietnam, I think.
No kidding.
Yeah,
I didn't know that
he was in Vietnam.
Fascinating.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
But Latham,
cool.
if you hear this and I'm wrong, but yeah, I think he was a military doc. He was, and it was just wild to me that like his job was a general surgeon.
Yeah.
And I just hand some people here, whack this part off.
Wow, that's a good. I have to check that out. That's pretty cool.
And so, what is you met Helen when you were in school? Was she studying medicine or?
Oddly, yes, she was. She was she was a sophomore at the time, and then I was a senior. And so she decided that, hey, this isn't really what I want to do.
Right.
She went computer applications and government was her majors.
Right.
And so she decided to go that way. And I said, well, you can still marry a doctor,
We're not all bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So what do you think about how much longer do you think you're going to practice?
Yeah, I'm getting that question a lot right now, Andy. Working 35 years, and
Well, let me ask you this: do you still love it?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, family medicine. I mean, it has its ups and downs. It's like any job.
Sure.
But I love the people. I mean, I love interacting. I love knowing families. I love getting to know, how things are going on there because it makes a huge difference in their health and stuff.
Sure.
So, I mean, I really love it. Probably I diverted a little bit the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I've done some aesthetics medicine, but still, I'm still doing it. I still love it. So from the standpoint of retirement, right now, it looks like at the end of 2026, I think I'm going to fully retire from primary care medicine.
Right.
And so letting people know that, we're going to take care of them. Don't worry.
I'm not. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's kind of like my problem. And my company, basically, we are the IT department for our customers.
Right.
So we handle everything. And there's a lot of investment money in my industry buying companies like mine. And so because they're once you get it set up, I'm not going to say it's autopilot. It's certainly not autopilot. Mm-hmm. But, things happen with a fairly predictable rhythm. And, the companies, I mean, as long as you run them right and you keep marketing and all that stuff, they can make decent money. And so investment people want to buy them. Mm-hmm. And I have the same problem you have. I still like what I do. Could I sell it and, just spend all my time down at the river? Yeah. But I still really like what I do. I like it.
Sure.
Technology is incredible to me.
Well, and so you talk about like the technology and what you're at and the technology what I'm doing. And Tad and I, we will laugh and like, have you heard about this new medicine? This new procedure? I mean, it's like, it gets to a point where it's like, wow. I mean, the pace of stuff going on. I mean, it's really quite remarkable. And so, actually, during my time when I was doing my medical stuff in the office, I decided, hey, you know what? I'm looking for something kind of fun and different to do. So I went and got a master's in it's called Master's in Medical Management. I was up at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, and I'd go up there every couple months for a couple weeks.
Right.
But this was like in 1996 to 98, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really when the burgeoning of information technology for medicine was happening.
Right.
And they were at the forefront of learning this stuff and how to make it work out. So it was a really fascinating time. So I actually used that and came back to the hospital here, and I was their medical director of information technology for about I guess 6-7 years, something like that. And it was just fascinating to watch what was going on, because medicine was really kind of paper and pen for so many years, and so many little silos of our information.
Oh yeah.
And this information technology is like, oh my gosh, now it's like we have access to all kinds of stuff that we didn't have before.
It's been startling. I think the most integrated medical profession might be dentist. because they have now as opposed to like the smaller medical practices or even bigger ones like the one that you work for, they have a system that's integrated with the hospital. But like in the dentists, they have one little office and the x-rays are integrated with the system and all of the other stuff. And, the doctor pulls up the screen and he's like, we need to drill out this and pull that tooth or, whatever it is. But still, it has been an incredible experience switching doctors, to you guys some years ago. And, you got that medical chart, you log in and there's all your stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the stuff, some of that stuff flows from the hospital, I think.
They're getting better. We have access. I mean, because still, even though I'll give you examples, like we have a IT solution called Epic, which is really a humongous one across the United States. At one point in time, 1 in 4 people had been a patient in the Epic system.
Oh, wow.
Across the United States. I think it's closer now to 1 to 3, but it's pretty a big place. So
that's 150 million people. Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so as we have, when we joined Novant Health, because they, I won't say purchased us, we merged, affiliated, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I became an employee of Novant Health back in 2010, and they brought in Epic. And so Epic then was in our office, and it just opened a whole new world. We'd had a previous EMR, but it was just our little place.
Right.
No other interactive at all.
Right.
So this thing, though, we had our hospital particularly, which is very important.
Right.
But then we have access to view every other Epic hospital. If our patient went into, Wyoming ER.
Right.
We pulled up.
It was there.
See right there.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. And to us, it helps a lot because a lot of times when people would come into the ER, we'd have no record.
Right.
We're relying upon the patient to tell us what the heck happened.
Right.
And so, that's been a huge benefit in our world.
Yeah. I think technology has been incredible. I think that it's still, what is it, 20 some years later, the industry is still struggling with like how it all should work, but it's leaps and bounds better than where it was for sure.
Well, there's always that thing about, people's privacy.
Yeah.
Their, are we going to allow people to have, what kind of access do we want them to have? Because this is our stuff. But what's interesting, Andy, is that nowadays, people are like, well, that's my chart. It's really me and I'm mine, and I really need.
Right.
So now Epic did create an ability for you to see what's everything on your chart.
Right.
One of the frustrating things for us is that sometimes it's like they had some labs done or something. They will see the labs before I even see it.
Right. Right.
And I was like, oh, brother. And they start sending you an email right away saying,
that's the worst possible of all worlds, right? Because they're freaking out probably.
Yeah.
And, you look at it and you're just kind of like, but now you're getting emails. Yeah. And now, how that seems like it would be on a scale of how many ever patients you have. That can get really disruptive, right?
Yes. And I tend to be one of those hyper-vigilant ones who if I see an email come in, I want to deal with it. That's just me. And, so I will I try to address it, but then it's like, well, then where do you say let's draw the line of what do I charge for?
That's got to be impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not exactly in the consulting business, but at that point you kind of are. And so same for us. Like, I get on a phone call with somebody. Yeah. It lasts 5 minutes.
What do you do with that?
Yeah, I charge it.
Yeah. And see now, but we have
But that's not what your patients expect.
Well, no.
And the insurance companies.
And the insurance companies, and that's a whole nother conversation.
We could do one podcast just on insurance, and no one would be happy at the end of it.
And now, I will admit, though, Andy, that insurance is a necessary evil.
Sure.
Right? And we need it because if something really tragic happens, you need to be able to have coverage for that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I get it, but, it doesn't make it easy for us. So if someone asks a question online and says, oh, hey, I woke up this morning with X, Y, or Z, what do I do? Well, that's not really what we're trying to use this communication for. And we have ways of dealing with that, but they don't, but then they're going to have like a $10 or $20 charge.
That's right.
And sometimes it's like, you know what, there are people who kind of abuse it. And so I was like, well, you know what, this really needs to be handled, in a different way. Would you mind doing it this way so that we can apply the charge? So,
I mean, I don't feel like that's an unreasonable request for a lot of it. But I bet with like all of the tests that come back and stuff like that, because, sometimes, like, especially if you're worried about it, right? You're logging in, you're hitting refresh. And as soon as that result comes in, they're like, hey, Mike, I've got this problem.
Luckily, Epic has a really nice refresh rate. And so things come up pretty quickly. So thankfully, you don't have to use that button anymore. Because the one thing that doctors always complain about is how many clicks is it going to take?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's in all industry, but...
It's in all industry.
It is. Okay.
Yeah. We have the same sort of thing to the point where, like, we have this app. We don't use it currently, but we've used it in the past. It's like you set up your whole calendar, what you're going to do all day. And the app on your phone reads that and say, my first stop is at Mike's house. Mm-hmm. So before I leave here, I pull up the app and it has a go button. I hit go. It attaches to the ticket for your problem. And I go to your house, I fix your problem, and then I hit stop. And then it refreshes, another go button, and I go to Fred's house, and I hit that, or I go to Fred's business, and I go there, and at the end, I hit stop. And when I come back here, I fill out all the tickets.
Got it.
But, it's just, that tends not to work real well in our industry because it's, people call the help desk at unpredictable intervals. I can't print.
Right.
Hey, Matrix, I can't print.
Right.
So you can't exactly schedule that work.
Right.
But for the on-site guys, we can do that. But it imposes its own productivity penalty.
Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, getting back to enjoying what I do in retirement, the thing that's hastening my retirement, I think some of this, is that I've had some surgical things go on. I had a spine surgery 4 years ago, and it went well. I had actually my buddy from Notre Dame, who just happened to become a spine surgeon.
Oh wow!
Works up up towards Reston.
That's convenient.
And, that was very convenient. And I was like, "Hey Tom,
right.
this is going on." He goes, "Yeah, we can fix that." And then I had my knee replaced earlier this year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Pretty.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yep. And that went well too. And so after those two things, it began me to think: am I nearing the end because I'm physically starting to have some issues? Because I don't want to get into retirement and be like crippled.
No, you want to be able to enjoy it if you can.
Absolutely, if you can. Yeah. And so fortunately, Helen was she got an MBA over at George Mason. And she has been very good at investments and stuff. And she's a whole nother wonderful story, but very, very fortunate. So she's done well in making sure that we're set for the future. And I think that, retirement in my mind needs to be, and that's kind of like when you talked about with Rich. I mean, that was the perfect example. I was like, you know what? You want to be able to, do good things, have fun, still be active.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And I talked to some of my other colleagues who are in the same boat that I'm at. And, some of them are financially able to and some aren't. And so it's just finding that right time. So I think if I can get through, because I'm starting to have back problems again, unfortunately. But if I can get through all that, then, I can make it out to that time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it seems like, retirement is planning just like anything else, right? It's like, the plan generally goes to hell as soon as
yes.
But it's funny, you have guys like Rich, and we can talk a little bit about it because he talked about it on here. But he was pretty intentional.
Absolutely.
About what he did.
Yes.
Here's what's going to happen when I step away from my general counsel job. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Very calculating.
Yeah. Well, and
calculated.
He's been that kind of guy typically.
Yeah.
And then you have other members of the cattlemen who are.
Are we going to go down that road, cattlemen?
Well, they retire. Well, they retire and they tell me, I've never been busier in my whole life. Right. And I kind of admire Rich's approach to that. Yeah. He has found ways to provide meaningful input and service to the community.
Right.
But no one's going to accuse him of being busier than ever.
Right.
And I admire that.
I'm headed over there after this anyway. So.
Yeah.
Want to make sure he's doing okay.
Right. House visit.
Yes. I don't do many of them.
Right. So that's a thing. I mean, retirement, it's a huge deal. When my dad retired, he worked for the Department of the Army at Belvoir for 30 some years. And
did he have a pension or did he have
he has the old school federal pension.
Did he? Wow.
Yeah. I hate it. I look at that and I'm like, you have to be kidding me. But I mean, good for him. We're incredibly fortunate.
Yeah.
He's taken care of until he passed away. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's great for him. But
that's not everybody's situation.
Well, no, it ain't mine for sure. You're running your own business. You're either saving your money or when you retire, you're eating cat food.
Yeah.
So.
Yum.
Yeah. But it's a thing. But he retired, and within a month or two, he and Mom had started a bed and breakfast.
Yes. What was the name of that place?
Bennett House.
Because it was Bennett Drive. Yeah. Okay.
But I never thought I'd see him up at 7 a.m. cooking pancakes.
So he actually was the one doing that kind of work?
When Mom was not available.
Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, that man couldn't boil water when I was a kid. But he got, they had the same 3 or 4 menu items. So he got to be very familiar with how to cook that stuff. And he did a pretty good job. I thought it was pretty good.
You know what? I've always loved going to bed and breakfast. I never went to that one. But, I think that's a really cool thing, especially in a town like this. I mean, they probably got some pretty interesting folks through there.
100%.
Yeah.
They made, my dad was one of these guys that, like, if he goes into a room with 40 people, he's coming out with 38 friends. And so, they made friends. They visited people in England and in Europe, other parts of Europe, I think Germany.
Yeah.
Your friends they had made who had stayed at the bed and breakfast.
Cool. How's about that? How many bedrooms were there for them to? So
upstairs, there's 3 and kind of a half. Okay. They stayed in one, and then the other 2 were the main bedrooms. Oh. And there was a smaller one. When I was a kid, it was his office.
Oh, I see.
It wasn't very big, but it was big enough to fit, like a single bed in. Yeah. So if you had an adult kid with his mom.
Sure.
It worked, and they did it for a long time.
I talked to Helen a long time ago, thinking about maybe in retirement, would you want to do a bed and breakfast? And she goes, "You're crazy." Because I love to cook. I love service type stuff. But as I started talking to people who did it, I was like, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and because it's not just like, oh, we'll cook and then we'll clean all this and we'll be ready. No, you gotta go, wash all the sheets and change all that stuff, vacuum the rooms, clean the bathrooms, every time.
Right.
And my parents were from a generation like they weren't going to pay somebody to do that.
Right.
They were going to do it.
They were going to do it. Yeah.
And plus, the other thing is, what would weird me out a bit is other people that I don't really know sleeping in the house. That's just a me thing.
Well,
right?
How many years did you live in that house?
We moved into that house in 1969. So
my gosh.
Yeah. Well, my parents bought it either right before or after my brother was born in 69. Okay. And it looked a lot different then. But
how so? What do you mean?
Well, like now it has a 2-car garage on the back with a giant deck, and back when I was a kid, that was a very small stoop with a very steep set of stairs. The house needed a lot of work. It does probably.
Who was living on that road at the time? Do you remember?
David Flack.
Oh, the Flacks.
Peter Kane.
Oh, Peter Kane was across the street from you.
Peter Kane was across the street from you.
Yes.
And then I don't remember his name, but he was the guy that owned the Ford dealership on Manassas. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I don't think I knew him. Well, I don't know. Did you know that the White House that's on the corner of Bennett and Grant, that was Helen's grandmother's house?
The one with the big columns?
Yeah.
Oh, so the Flax house.
No, I'm sorry. The other side.
Oh.
That's one that's facing Grant.
Yeah, that was the guy. When I was a kid, that was the guy that owned the Ford dealership.
Got it. So Helen, apparently her grandmother lived there. And so when Helen was a child, she remembers going to that house.
Oh, wow.
And playing in the house because her mother never lived there, but her mother's from Manassas originally,
Right.
And so she just had great fond memories. So when we were looking for a place to live back in 1996, I guess it was.
Yeah.
We went over and looked at the house, thinking, but we had 2 kids at the time and 1 on the way.
Right.
And looked at that house. I was like, this ain't gonna work out.
That's not that's not that kind of house.
I mean, it was very cool though to walk through. I mean, it still had its coal chute in the basement and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, pretty neat stuff. But yeah, we were looking for something. So that's how we got to Dr. Regan's house.
I see. So, like the house like Dave Flack lived in, before Dave lived there, the Bridges family lived there.
Didn't know that.
And they moved out of Manassas probably in the middle to late 70s. He was a real estate agent. It's pretty successful. Bought a house on the top of a mountain out in Rappahannock County someplace.
Wow.
Yeah, he was. They were really nice folks, but they didn't, stick around. And the Flacks moved in, and then I went to college. And when I was done with college, I moved out of my parents' house within 4 or 5 months, something like that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, that rapidly became a situation that I wasn't loving.
Yeah, I can understand that. Sure, absolutely.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that, so when we grew up, you had in Manassas, you had a family practice and, Dr. White's, surgical. Are the days of those 4 or 5 doctors team up and form their own practice and treat people, are those days kind of gone? Is everyone just going to be, basically big business or investment funds paying for that kind of, buying them all out?
Yeah, gosh, Andy. Sadly, yeah, I think those days are gone, unfortunately. I mean, there'll be still people who'll do it.
Sure.
There'll be a little, but so Tad and I, we were with Feldman and DeRosa. So I should explain this a little bit. So Tad and I were together from 90 to 96.
Right.
And then we merged with Feldman and DeRosa. I don't know if you remember those names. Super good guys. And so we were together and we ran our own practice from 96 to 2010. And so the reason why we did this was because we saw what was happening. The way payment systems were going to be for medicine was a big, huge push. Just needing to be able to afford some of the stuff that we were still doing and wanted to do, we just need to have more doctors together. It's just what was fascinating in the old place. We were talking a little bit about this earlier. The old Manassas Medical Center, which was where the CVS was, and that little building was amazing. So Dr. Ringler and Dr. Latimer lived, I think, next to each other on, I think it was either Battle or West Street.
Okay.
And I
don't remember.
It was, we still can't quite figure out which 2 houses they were in, but regardless, they were going out to the country and delivering babies, wherever. I mean, that's just, there was nothing around here. There was no hospital. This is in the 50s. So they would actually be doing deliveries and, lots of farmers back then, I mean, they'd be going into farms, and doing stuff, making lots of house calls. And so they got together and built the Manassas Medical Center back in 54. And the funny story is that Dr. Ringler was going to build a house over on Stonewall Road. And people were asking him, that's way out of the city. I mean, there's nothing out there. You can live all the way out there?
Right.
And so, lo and behold, it's in the middle of everything now. But so they were together. Those 2 guys were together from 54 to 98. No, 98? No, excuse me, 88. And so still a long time to be as partners, right?
Yeah.
And so what's funny to think is that Tad and I now have been together for 36 years. Same practice. Phenomenal. So anyhow, when we came together, we really wanted to stay small. But we just saw the writing on the wall. We had to do that. And then when 2010 came around, it's like, to afford an EMR,
to forget it.
There's no way people in a small practice could do that.
Yeah.
So that's why and also just for other reasons like retirement packages and stuff like that, and buying a doctor out. So we were in the old days where, a doctor comes in, pays X amount of dollars to buy into the practice.
Right.
And then when it comes time to buy out, then okay, you get your buyout, and it was a large amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, heck, that's hard to, as a small practice to afford something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I get it.
So the bigger we got, the easier it got. But anyhow, so joining with with Novant made a lot of sense, and it did good things for us.
Yeah.
But it was becoming, as people like to call it, corporate medicine.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about corporate medicine, though, is like people always think about, they're going to tell you what to do. Well, early on they don't, because they don't really know our business very well.
Right.
So we kind of teach them, well, this is the way we do things and how we do things. And hey, if you want to help us improve it, great. But, you're not going to come in here and make huge changes.
Right.
And they knew that.
Yeah.
Until about 6 years later, where they began feeding us back information saying, well, here's what you're doing, and we'd like you to do more of this. Or,
Right.
So we began to get some pressure that way. And then, of course, our reimbursements are coming down. Medicare was becoming, so a lot of issues happened. And so now that we're with an organization like we're with now, it helps us. I mean, we're with UVA Health now.
Right.
You were, I think you were around when it was 51% Novant and 49% UVA.
Yeah.
And so that was an interesting combination. And I thought the idea of bringing together Novant, which is a large organization down in North Carolina, I mean, super big, much bigger than UVA. And they recognized that even though they were very successful in North Carolina, bringing their style of healthcare and up here didn't work quite right.
Right.
Now, part of the reason by that is because they only had like 2 or 3 insurers down there. Well, we had 20, 30 insurers to deal with, and they're all competing.
Sure.
So it's a completely different sort of thing. So I think Novant realized, hey, this is not a great thing. But then they brought in UVA, who brings in this whole other aspect of education and also high-level service.
Right.
We call it tertiary care, the highest specialists and so forth. Because Inova wanted to buy all this area out here.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I don't know if you remember, but I went to a meeting. I can't remember what school it was. And who was it was Hal Parrish's father. He was a fan of going with Inova.
Really?
Yeah, fascinating.
Oh.
And he didn't present real well, unfortunately, but he had a really actually a pretty darn good foresight that hey, we need to be with an organization like that,
right,
to be successful,
right.
And then
I mean, Hal's old man had been around the block for a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, he saw a lot of stuff, and then on top of it, Dr. Regan, who became the CEO of Prince William,
right,
he was a fan of Inova as well. Well, a lot of people out here just didn't really want to go down that road.
Didn't love it, huh?
Yeah, didn't love it. And it would have been interesting to see had we gone with Inova. I mean, people call them the great big gorilla.
They are.
Because they are. They're a huge organization. But, I don't know. I don't know what was the right or wrong thing to do, but we did what we did. And I still feel like we're able to provide the medical care that we need to provide. And that's what it comes down to.
That's the important part, right?
I mean, so that we have the resources, that we have the backing and so forth. And so now that UVA's, it's been a challenge switching from Novant to UVA. But all in all, I mean, they've done some good things for us. They have, so family doctors historically are on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to reimbursement.
Right.
I think us, psychiatry, and pediatrics are the bottom 3.
You kicked around the most.
Yeah, and so what we had found out, and we didn't know this, is that we were getting paid we were in the 25th percentile family practice.
Oh, wow.
Previously. And so now UVA's brought us up to about the 50th, I think, now.
Oh.
And so that was nice, I mean, I'm not going to ever complain about my income and, what I did. But, it's for the kind of work we do, we need to be valued.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
yeah, well, I mean, no one walks in the door and says, "Who's your worst doctor?" Right? I mean, that's not a thing. Or what doctor makes the least amount of money? I mean, that's not a thing, right?
No.
So,
no.
you want qualified professionals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about UVA is that they've kind of let us decide who we want to work with.
Right.
I think that's important because quality is super important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from our perspective, I don't hear as much grief in the community with UVA as I did maybe, especially early on with Novant.
Right.
And some of that was going to be just because it's different, right?
Yes, right.
People hate it, it's different. And I completely get that too. But yeah, it's medicine is a thing. It's almost like an uncrackable egg. Some of the problems that you read about, at the federal level. And, once you get politics involved in it, it seems like it's almost impossible.
So I don't know if you remember, Andy, that there was a time in something called the way they were paying us, capitation. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
So capitation was an attempt to try to help control the spiraling costs of medicine.
Right.
So capitation, at least to the physicians, was there. With the insurance company came to us and said, okay, look, we have 10,000 patients. And we're going to pay you per patient this amount of money every month to take care of these people, no matter what it is that you do.
Right.
So we were a little tepid at first. We weren't really sure because we were always a fee-for-service sort of thing, right? So this is what you do, this is what you pay.
Right.
Well, capitation is very different. So we reorganized our organization to deal with that. And a couple years later, they're like, wow. We're paying you too much. Because we figured out, okay, well, this is what we have to do in order to make this work and still provide the quality of medicine we wanted to do.
Right.
And so capitation maybe lasted about, 5-10 years at the most for some places.
Right.
But, it was like we figured it out, how to make it work. And probably really was a better way to do it because it did bring down costs. But the insurance company was like, well, we need to make ours.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest issue is that these insurance companies, very wealthy business.
I saw this morning, I think, in fact, where a private equity firm is buying hospitals.
Yes.
And in my industry, every time, so my type of company is something called a managed service provider. That's what, doesn't matter what it means. That's what they call us. And every time somebody develops a tool for us and it starts to sell really well, bam, private equity will come in and buy it.
Oh, really?
Because once it's in our stack, you don't change things like our antivirus, right? And that's not something that I just pull out and replace every year. It takes a lot of work to do that. And so the products tend to have a fair amount of staying power. And so the private equity guys will come in, buy that company, and, inevitably ruin it.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing in medicine too. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what you heard this morning, but that's what's happening is they go into a hospital, they don't really realize, how it functions, how it works, and they're expecting to make money off it, and then they're trying to suck it out, and then all of a sudden, oops.
Yeah, well, in my industry, it's kind of like that, and you'll have a solution that comes in, and they're killing it. They're engaging with all their customers. They're at all the right trade shows, and then we read somewhere, hey, such and such got sold to private equity, and everyone at that point knows, well, it's all downhill from here. I don't care what the guys from the PE firm say; it's all downhill from there. And, I don't know if that happens in every industry or medicine. I have no idea. But I know in my industry, it happens almost without fail.
Yeah. We've had several approaches by private equity firms, and we've always just kind of said, we don't think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
There is a group around called Privia. I don't really know exactly how they're funded or whatsoever, but there's a number of doctors here in town here who do work with them. And, they seem to be okay. I mean,
the private equity guys have as many ways to work with firms as there are stars in the sky, right? We do business with some vets, animal doctors. And there are PE firms that are going into those, and their move seems to be, we're going to buy 49%. Or we're going to buy 51%. You get to keep the rest of your business, and we're just going to work on back-end improvements.
Yeah.
People seem pretty receptive to that. But as opposed to we're just going to write you a check. You got to work here for 5 years and then get lost. It's a thing. There's a lot of different ways to do it.
Well, there are some benefits in medicine, I think, of having large groups together.
Yeah.
So, for example, we're actually part of a larger medical group with UVA Health. So So UVA Health Community Physicians, it's called.
Right.
So we have some hospitalist doctors are in with us. Then we have surgeons, we have cardiologists and things like that. And it really does make the ability to care for our patients a lot easier.
I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, there's value to that,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. And so I think that's the one thing I've been appreciated, besides the EMR business. That's made a big difference. So yeah, it's been quite a whirlwind over the last 35 years of seeing all these changes.
So let me ask you a question. This was probably 2005, 2006, not too long after the internet really got going.
Yeah.
And, I had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So, I had kind of found religion with all that stuff.
I remember you exercising like crazy.
I started training and doing all that stuff. And then I had this problem. I don't remember what it was. And I went on the internet and I found WebMD. And I started searching. And
this is 2005, you said?
Maybe it was a little later, but it wasn't much.
Yeah.
And I found this diagnosis that matched my symptoms. And it was some rare, horrible cancer that I had 15 minutes to live, and I printed it out and I took it to my doctor.
Yeah.
And she sat down and she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, this is what I think I have." I handed her the printed page. She took one look at it, tore it in half, and put it in the trash can and said, "Don't ever bring that crap." Do you see that a lot?
Oh my gosh. More than you would ever expect. And, now that they've opened the world to, all this availability of information, I mean, it is amazing that, especially with AI, holy cow. It's really revolutionized, even our ability to do things, because it's so hard to remember everything.
Sure.
But anyhow, the internet can be
Do you want some ice?
I'm good.
No,
Thanks.
you're good?
Yeah. The internet is a really powerful tool because it does help people kind of understand stuff, but it can't really diagnose you.
Right.
AI maybe someday, but until the time comes, it's a blessing and a curse.
Right.
Because I've had patients who've come in and said, "Hey, Dr. Perez, I was looking up on the internet about X, what, my condition.
Right.
And, have you thought about this?" And I was like, that's an interesting point.
Right.
But on the other hand, there are people who will take the internet and use it to such a degree that it gets overwhelming and confusing, even for a doctor.
Sure.
And so the patients are, like you said, "I think I've got this."
Right.
And that's a hard thing. Once someone gets wedded to that situation, you got to disprove them.
Right. I bet. Yeah. And I hadn't thought of that.
And so, I guess the way I handle my patients is like, well, if this is something that's going to help you sleep better at nighttime to, review all this stuff and it helps you kind of understand your condition,
right,
be my guest. But realize that, this is not thinking about you. It's looking at everything.
Right.
And so each individual person, each diabetic is different.
Sure.
And even though we have an algorithm of how we take care of diabetes.
Right.
Well, this algorithm will say in it, okay, you can choose X, 1, 2, 3 for your first treatment.
Right.
So it's not like everyone has to have the same thing.
Right.
Not yet. I don't think that the computer ability is going to be there to really make those decisions because they don't know everything else about you.
No.
So that's where I think we come in strongly. And then also then we can help them understand, okay.
This door's getting hot.
We have, because for example, diabetes. One of the key critical things is your diet.
That's right.
And so, there's most of the dietary information is actually pretty, everyone pretty much agrees on, the dietary stuff.
Yeah.
It's everything else that they disagree on.
Right.
But that type of thing is useful because I can't remember if it was somebody on one of your podcasts or something else I was listening to about, doctors don't get a whole lot of information on on diet?
Yeah, it wasn't mine, but that's definitely doctors. They're trained. 20 years ago, this is how these guys are thinking about these things. Yeah, and that's not. I mean, I don't know any doctors that do that.
So, well, I have to admit, when I went through med school and training, we had a minuscule amount of dietary stuff.
Right.
I really had to educate myself on all that ever since then.
But that's what happens. That's right.
Well, you have to understand that stuff. I mean, is cinnamon going to correct your diabetes? No, it's not going to correct your diabetes. You can't cure diabetes.
No.
And so, but could it be helpful? Maybe. Is it going to hurt you? Nah, it's probably not going to hurt you.
Right.
So it's helping people understand that kind of thing. That's a lot what I do because we deal with all these sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, the internet, I use it. I mean,
Sure.
if I have a patient who's really complicated and has lots of different things going on,
sure.
Heck, I'm going to turn to that. Sure. I mean, I used to turn to a book.
Right.
I mean, so this is really not a lot different, but you have to know that your resources are still reliable because there's a lot of crappy resources out there.
Yeah. So you get some fair number of people that walk in the door like I did.
Oh, yeah. Every day.
Doc, I've got this fever from Africa.
And
have you been to Africa? No, I haven't.
I mean, I get it. I mean,
I get it. Yeah.
And I understand it. And you have to just be willing to say, okay, I understand what we're looking at. But let's deal with you. You got my time. I'm here. I'm solely focused on you.
Right. It's funny because when I did it, she didn't roll her eyes, at least.
But you didn't see her.
She did no bones about putting that right in the trash and said, look, let's start at step one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Why do you think this is a thing? Yeah. And, it came down to almost like, well, Doc, it hurts when I move my arm like this. Well, don't move your arm like that, right? it was almost that.
You're stealing my line.
Right. It was almost that simple, though.
Right.
It really was.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I'll ask you this. When you got your diagnosis, what was going on in your brain?
I mean, I really didn't understand what. I mean, they tell you, like, look, your A1C is whatever it is, and that you have triglycerides, or just whatever is wrong, right? And I was fortunate enough to have a doctor who was pretty no bones about it. And they sent me to a nutritionist, and they said, I said, what do I do? Right? Well, we're going to, if you don't get your situation under control, you're going to start with insulin, and now you're going to take metformin, which is what's the language? Not always well tolerated. And you're going to have glipizide and this other stuff, and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I had at the time enough resources around me, or I said, like, what do I do? And they were like, I was almost 300 pounds. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, so what do I need to do? Well, it's pretty obvious. And I basically lost about 70 pounds, diet alone. No exercising at all.
Wow.
And that I won't say it fixed it, but it was a significant help, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it was overwhelming.
So that's the big thing about when we deliver a diagnosis that, people are like, a lot of times they're shell shocked. They didn't realize what was going on. And then on top of it, like, well, this is what could happen.
Right.
And that's the scary thing about diabetes, especially adult diabetes.
Yeah.
The things that could happen to you down the road if you don't take care of this stuff.
Well, and it's, like anything chronic, it's ups and downs. When you get diagnosed and you're in your 30s, a lot of those complications are relatively fuzzy, right?
Yeah.
You've not started to have problems with your eyes or whatever the other problems are.
Yeah.
And, when you get to my age, I'm 58, now some of those complications, even though I've been relatively careful, they start to manifest, right?
Yeah.
So
that's the issue.
Well, it is. And I just double down and work harder. Yeah. I'm at the gym at 5:30 in the morning, and that's the whole thing.
It's the lifestyle changes that need.
Those are the tough ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't eat pizza. No. Can you have a sandwich? Yeah, sure, but you got to take the top bread off.
Yeah. Those small little changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all help though.
They all add up.
It's kind of like when you change any type of behavior. you have to do it kind of slowly. You can't just, it's not like, going cold turkey. It's just that doesn't work. But making those changes, it just takes an effort. But if you kind of keep focused on the goal, have a lot of support. Now, for example, like quitting smoking, one of the hardest things to do. I mean, geez, that is such.
My mom struggled with that for years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, what that industry.
Well, I worked construction and surveying when I was a teenager, and I started chewing tobacco.
Oh boy!
And well, I did that for probably until maybe I was in my late.
Were you using skull or leaf?
Leaf.
Oh wow!
And I quit one day.
Just stopped.
That was enough. I felt like I got to the point where I felt like this is controlling my life, and I don't like it. And I think I had one relapse that lasted about a day. Since then,
what am I doing?
Yeah. It's just once you're what the hell am I thinking?
Yeah.
So no, I chewed tobacco for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, something like that.
Did you enjoy it?
I don't know.
Or was other guys doing it too?
Well, that's why I started. Other guys were doing it too. Yeah. And, they were like, hey, have a dip or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. I was a dumb kid.
Yep.
And then it got to the point where, it's really controlling my life. This ain't good. So, and then I think, and I went and saw a dentist, and they were like, "Look, this shit's a wreck, man. You need to not do this.
Your gums are looking crappy."
Right. Well, and I think they make a point of pulling your gum, looking extra careful and giving you a harder time. It worked.
What do you see in there, Doc?
Right. Nothing good.
Well, do you ever hear the little? It's kind of a joke. The guy walks into the doctor's office, a pulmonary doctor, and on the sign on the door says, "Thank you for smoking."
That's brutal.
That's pretty brutal. And the other thing I thought was really interesting, at one point in time when I was going through some education, do you know which state in the United States has the most amount of heart disease?
I have no idea.
Texas.
Really?
Guess what state has the most number of cardiologists?
Texas.
There's always these weird things about our business, but it's fascinating. If you go looking for stuff, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the question is the heart disease really significant? And that's what we're getting to these days. So, for example, a lot of people are asking for something called a calcium cardiac score. Have you heard about this? And I guess it's about 25, 30 years ago they founded this thing. And so it's an anatomic ability for us to be able to tell how much calcium plaque is in your coronary arteries.
Right.
Which I think is a useful tool.
Yeah.
However, it's not necessarily physiologic. Okay, so that's an anatomic thing we're looking at.
Right.
Well, is it physiologically really bothering you? Well,
yeah.
So I always have a lot of conversations with a particular physician, Tad Latimer, in my office about this, and so we go back and forth, and it's like we're struggling with where does this fit in, and our ability to really help diagnose people and treat them.
Right.
And it's just another tool. I mean, we have so many tools that we can use to try to figure this out, and sometimes it can be difficult.
Sure.
I mean, it's not everyone shows up the same way. Crushing an elephant sitting on my chest, it radiates to my neck and arm. I mean, not everyone shows up that way.
Yeah, I mean, I had that problem when I had that pain in my shins. What was that? 2 years ago, and I went through 4 or 5 different kinds of tests
trying to figure it out.
Like, what is this? And we don't know, and so we're going to do this blood flow study, and then we're going to do an MRI, and we're going to
especially with the sugar problem you had, right?
Yeah. Well, and it turns out that was probably I'd had some sort of issue where my A1C went really high, and I hadn't changed a lot. And it's come down. All I can think of, I don't know. It was a thing. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But it's it's gone. So I'm happy with that. But it's got to be frustrating to because the more tests you do, like your funnel narrows, right?
Yeah, right.
Now you are talking about some fever from West Africa.
Right. Well, I mean, it's funny because we have people travel all over the world.
Sure.
I had someone come in. I guess it was last year. I had dengue fever.
Oh wow.
I mean, I'd never seen dengue fever.
I bet not.
But you know what? The person came in, it was like, if I would have opened the medical dictionary, their picture would have been there. It was like they had every symptom. And you hear about it in med school, but you don't see it that much. But boy, holy cow, this person was sick as could be, and but it goes away luckily. But still, right. it's fascinating in the area that we live in, and the multicultural thing. You got to be prepared.
Sure.
You got to think about all the crazy stuff that could be out there. And people traveling over to Africa, particularly, they need their malaria prophylaxis.
Yeah.
I had someone come back had malaria. I mean, it was really. I mean, it's just not something we in a small little town of Manassas are going to see a lot of. But again, you have to be prepared to look for those kind of, we call them zebras.
Yeah. Well, it's like when we went to India. Last fall for
your wedding,
my wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, we called your practice. And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, you need everything.
This, that, and the other thing, yeah. But, luckily, again, here's your internet at its finest, okay?
Yeah.
So the CDC, for those of you who are out there, if you're ever going to be traveling somewhere, the CDC has a fantastic thing for travelers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you used it or not.
Your office pointed us to it, yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, we have to prescribe some of this stuff, but it tells you basically what you need for every country in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that is such a useful tool and really helps us a lot with, caring for that type of person traveling. And because, there's things you probably should take with you when you travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were fortunate. So we reached out to you guys. You gave us that webpage. Plus, my daughter's fiance, he's Indian, obviously. And he said, well, look, we're going to be in these areas, so we're not going to be in the bush. You don't need to worry about this.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot.
Well, we have guys and gals, especially who are doing missionary type work.
Right.
And they're going to go over, they're going to be in the bush.
They are going to be in the bush.
I mean, that's, you're going to need your yellow fever. You're going to need typhoid. You're going to need this X, Y, and it's really, fascinating, but it's, I can't remember where I heard this, but it's like, how the world is shrinking.
It is. It is.
From that standpoint. And how and the technology for, communications has, made this world so different. So, I'm glad to see that medicine has taken its step into this world and tried to embrace it and try to realize, this is where we're going.
I mean, communications is so much of it. What's that Yellowstone? The TV series.
Oh, so yeah.
Yeah, and they've had a couple of precursors to where, and one of them is like 1893. Here comes the train.
Is it got toot at us?
It might toot down there a little bit.
Okay.
One of them is like 1893 or something.
Yeah.
And something has happened in Wyoming. Okay. And this guy he has to send a letter to his son who is in Africa.
Right.
And you think about it, it's going to be like, it'll be almost a year before
he gets there.
If he gets it, it will be almost a year before he gets back. And we think about that, and you pick up your cell phone and you're texting somebody who's in Los Angeles, and you can see the dots bouncing when they're typing.
Exactly.
And it happens like this, right?
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, the communication stuff is phenomenal.
So it reminds me of a story with me and Helen. So one summer, I guess it was after I graduated from college, and she decided to take a overseas trip to Italy. It was like one of those things where she was going to go to Rome and to Athens, Greece, to learn, not anthropology, but all that kind of stuff of,
right. Archaeology
type anthropology, that type of thing. And so anyhow, so she was over there, and I just happened to be working that summer in at an Italian bread store, delivering bread to all these different stores all over Columbus, Ohio.
Oh wow!
And so I kept sending her letters, okay, and it's like hey, hi, blah, blah. And so she, well, it wasn't her fault. I wasn't getting any letters back.
Right.
It took like 3 weeks for me to get a first letter. And the guys in the Italian stores, oh, she found some Italian guy. You're never going to see her again. She's a pretty blonde. She's never
coming back.
I was like, oh, my heart's crushed. I was like, not anymore. I mean, our kids will go overseas. We can stay in communication with them easy, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my daughter was doing study abroad in Ireland. Yeah, I mean,
Hold on, your daughter went to Ireland? Oh my gosh! Yeah, you're good father.
She went to Limerick, University of Limerick, for a semester.
Oh no, okay. What'd she study there?
I don't know.
Was that when she was in her veterinary time, or?
No. She was never a vet. She talked about going to med school.
Med school, that's what it was.
But I think that, and I bet this happens a lot to folks that think they want to go to med school. That after 3.5 or 4 years of college, they're kind of like, I don't want to go to school for another 7 years. I bet that happens a lot.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter.
Oh, is that right?
So she got a psychology degree, ultimately from GMU. And so I was like in the back of my head thinking, okay, what are you going to do with this?
Right.
I mean, it's a good thing to learn, but I'm not sure it provides you an opportunity to find things. So anyhow, so she bounced around a few jobs. She got into as an MA down in Georgetown. I have to ask her how she got that job. But anyhow, she at an orthopedic group, and she loved it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she really shined doing that type of work. And then she decided, well, maybe I do want to go into medicine. I was like, great. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, okay, here is a 28, 29-year-old girl who is now applying to med school.
Right.
And is she, okay, number one, getting in, which is much more rigorous nowadays.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I don't know the data on this, but certainly the amount of people getting into schools has dropped because people want to go into medicine. I mean, it's a good business to be in, financially, etc. So anyhow, she applied and she got in.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa, okay. She got in, great for you. And so I was like, is she going to do it or not?
Right.
I was like, you're going to be 29, 30 here pretty soon, and you're going to be in at least 7 years of training before you can come out and make a decent living.
Right.
And so, again, being the father, I was like, I tried to bite my tongue. I just want to support her and so forth. And then she decided to apply to nursing school, and she got in. So she said, as she weighed, okay, nursing school, she was going to go to like 15 months as one of those fast track sort of things.
Right.
And she could be done in 15 months and start working.
Right. Or 7 years.
Or 7 years.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to have kids, if how do you want to start, saving for the future? I'm going to get married. She wasn't married, I don't think. Was she married at the time? I can't remember if she was married or just engaged, but anyhow. So she now says, you know what? I made the right decision for me. Nursing. Yeah. And she just finished. She's going to be starting work here next month. And I tried to convince her that being a PA was a better road, but I'm not going to listen to Dad. No. So, but it worked well, and she seems really happy with the choice she made. So, but yes, definitely back to your question. Yeah. Certainly, when you think about trying to get into schools from medical school, it's daunting. It's a lot of work, but if you do it for the right reasons,
100%. The discussion that I had with her was less about how hard it is or what it entails, because I've never been to med school, so I don't have any idea. But
it's not too late.
It's too late, really. But I said, how old are you when you graduate from college? Like 22, 23, something like that. And we had that discussion. I said, you're going to be 30 years old. If you get in on this cycle, you're going to be 30 years old. And, you've already met this guy who it seems like this is going to be a thing, right?
Yep.
And so now you start to, I can't imagine that I bet it would be pretty tough to be pregnant and in med school, right?
Well, I can remember the folks that when I was in, there are very few who were married. And some of them did have to, but their life was hell.
Yeah.
Their poor wives and her husbands that were, at home taking care of the stuff.
Right.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot, and that's the kind of discussion. But to be honest with you, I think she had already made her mind up. Yeah. Once she discovered it's going to be 7 years.
Yeah. This brings a whole question of parenting. I don't want to get too tangentiated off this, but parenting is really a tough thing, and that's even one of the things I see as a doctor is like, you're not taught how to parent.
No.
There's no parent. There are some parenting classes, I guess, in some places. But, I look at, what's provided in high school, the things that people, okay, you learn how to manage a checkbook. Well, who uses checkbooks much anymore? But anyhow, it's like, why don't they teach people how to, think about. But at that time of life, it's not important to them, so they're not going to learn a lot.
Well, they aren't going to pay attention for sure. I mean, but you think about it. You get pregnant, and 9 months later, you leave the hospital with an infant, and no one has told you anything about like what to do. And it's like the wives have a much tighter connection, thankfully, than the men, because we're not good at it.
There is that maternal instinct. There's no doubt in my mind.
So that's a thing. But beyond that, well, what do you do like when your kid bites somebody in kindergarten or something? What do you?
Don't bite them back.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. But no one. It's only your own experience that prepares you for that.
Yeah. And there's really no. Some people have been very fortunate to have really good parents, and they kind of learn some of that way. But it's not one of those things. Now, luckily, there a lot of women will have their mom around and be able to help them out and so forth. But a lot of people don't.
No.
That's a challenge. And so when people come into the doctors, I try to take a little time and talk about that parenting stuff, because while it's yes, we need to make sure the child is fine and so forth.
Right.
Really, the parenting skills.
There's another problem here.
Well, one of the things that I like to tell people, I mean, this freaks them out, is that your children really have learned most of the important stuff by 6 years of age.
Right.
And so people are like, oh my God.
It doesn't get better.
My kid's totally screwed up now. No, it's not that, but it's just, really, they learn by, what they see.
Sure.
How you act, what you do, those sorts of things. And so it's helping parents understand that, and hoping that they realize that, hey, there is no right and wrong necessarily, but there's better and not so better. Right. And what choices am I going to make to help? Because your goal is to raise an adult.
Right.
Your goal is not to make sure that they get into Harvard. I mean, that's not your goal. It is, what can I do to make sure this person becomes a good, responsible person later in life? And that's challenging.
Well, and I don't think a lot of people think about it even at that level. Really, it's just day to day. It's not
just surviving.
Yeah. How do I level this all up?
But when you realize that, hey, your influence on your child at 6 is really, those first 6 years is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And putting an iPad in front of them, while you're out to dinner, or just letting them play on your phone and stuff like that. I mean, I understand why people do it, but it's not in the best interest of the child.
Well, no, it's not. But Erin, well, and probably your kid, Erin, she had a smartphone. Certainly by the time she was in middle school, or maybe it wasn't really a smartphone. It was more like a flip phone.
Right. Yeah.
But now, just like you were talking about, you'll see somebody at a restaurant with a kid who's, 5 years old and some sort of tablet, and
it's unfortunate.
They don't pay attention.
Well, they lose a lot of social ability skills when that happens. They're not learning how to interact and how to behave and things like that. I mean, the rise of attention deficit disorder has just gone crazy, and I'm wondering if it's our own fault.
It could be. I mean, we could probably, you and I could probably have an entire podcast like on what has happened with RFK and all of that stuff.
That's a whole other.
That's a whole other ball of wax.
I'm very sad though. I'm sad with where things are headed. I don't know if it's going to change in the next couple of years, but I'm hoping that people will rise to the occasion and help balance off what's happening.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and his priorities, he whatever it is, all the stuff he's talking about. I think people are open for the discussion, but they at the same time don't want to see a lot of the capacity in those departments destroyed. Because those guys that work infectious diseases and all that, they don't grow on trees, and a lot of them are driven by a sense of service.
Yeah,
and they're working for the federal government, and once they're gone, it's gonna be hard to get them back.
Yeah. Well, getting rid of everyone on the immunization thing, that is a very scary thing for us, and it just makes you wonder. Okay, now are people going to get their vaccinations? Because people are calling into question, and he speaks out of kind of both sides of his mouth. If you
a little bit,
and it's like. So anyhow, that's another whole big thing.
That we could do a whole podcast.
Where are we going?
I think that people are open for it's like Elon Musk and cutting the budget, right? people, 80% of Americans would agree that, yeah, it's a pretty good idea to go look and see, like, what are these guys spending all the money on? But it doesn't mean that you take a machine gun to the entire thing, because unfortunately, the last president to do anything meaningful on the budget and the deficit was Bill Clinton.
Okay.
And he pushed out over 300,000 federal employees and balanced the budget. And, but it takes, he worked with Congress. It was a structured kind of thing. And, it looks like what Musk is doing, I mean, love him or hate him, is going to amount to about, $15 billion or something like that.
And so my issue, and Helen and I talk about this a lot, it's like, so this is a pittance, right?
It's almost nothing.
And, it's really the monies. I mean, we can't touch a lot of the monies. No. That if we're going to go back to balancing things, I mean, we only have so much ability. I mean, what is it, the amount of I'm sorry, I'm not a big economist, but the monies that are not already deemed like for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all that kind of stuff. Right. I mean, some of these things you just can't touch. I mean, we're still like, 10, 20% of the whole budget that we really have any.
If you fired the entire federal workforce, it would reduce the budget by 4%.
So
that's not it.
Right.
You can't go to that.
This is not going to be our answer. Yeah. And we can't, though, continue to live with this kind of deficit. No. And, I'm not a real knowledgeable person in this field. But, just the things I hear is like, we're dooming ourselves. And, what are we doing for, the generations to come? Yeah. How are we going to get out from under this?
That's not immediately clear. But, and I know a lot of people, especially in our neck of the woods, are not very fond of the president. But I would say that he is a political figure of the magnitude where if he walked out into the press room this afternoon and said, we're balancing the budget in 4 years, he could make it happen.
Yes, he could
make it happen.
Right.
Now, you may not love the end result. It would be difficult.
It would be challenging, no doubt about it.
He is the kind of guy who could do that. Yeah. Joe Biden certainly, Joe Biden had his faults, and we're not going to relive that. But he's not that guy, right? Yeah. And Barack Obama really wasn't that guy. Mm-hmm. But love him or hate him, Trump could do that. But he's distracted in
so many other directions.
He doesn't seem to see it as a priority, which I'm not saying he's a bad guy because he doesn't see it that way. Mm-hmm. People can disagree, right? Yeah. But they're talking about Social Security and Medicare reducing benefits in 8 years. Well, 8 years is about the time I retire.
It starts to hit home, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not great at math, but I can do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny because Helen and I are talking about, how much people are putting in and how much they're getting out. Yeah. And there's going to be a point in time where, we're not doing that.
Right.
And where's that going to come from?
Right. Well, at that point, they have to start cutting benefits.
Have to.
Yeah. And people.
You better not borrow to.
Right. No, you can't do that. But, but at that point, people have figured into their retirement calculations like, okay, well, I'm going to get $1,000 a month from Uncle Sam, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to pay this, rent, whatever it is. And suddenly, Uncle Sam said, so sorry, it's going to be $750.
Right.
So.
It's a frustrating time.
It is. It is.
I don't have an answer, but, hopefully we get smart people to figure this out.
Well, they have a little bit of time left.
Before it goes bust, right?
Before it goes bust. Yeah.
I knew we'd get to politics somewhere along the way.
Yeah, just not deep dive.
Not deep dive into it. I'm not there. Yeah.
No, I mean, at some point I'll probably have someone on that wants to kind of come on and hash it out, but I don't love that debate. I don't.
It's a tough one.
Well, it's tough, and if you talk to people, you have a place down on the Northern Neck, right?
Yes.
And I have a place down there, and you go to the grocery, and these are just people. Yeah. These are a lot of them salt of the earth people.
Absolutely.
Right? And Westmoreland County, where my place is, 77% went for Trump.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can best believe, these guys are believers.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, when you have a beer with them over at Dockside or whatever, they say, yeah, you know, I don't love the way that, you know, the immigration stuff looks. I don't love the way we're doing it. But I support it.
But support it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think most Americans are there.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
And I think what I've experienced down there in the Northern Neck is a similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
I love our little place down there, by the way.
Yeah.
And I know you guys do too.
Yeah.
It is just, it's so good to go down there and you feel like you're just away from all this craziness.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even talk about a lot of the politics, you know?
No.
I mean, they got their own stuff they're worried about.
I have this buddy, there's a gym right in Colonial Beach, and I go there. I have a buddy down there, and his name is Larry. And Larry, I think Larry might wear Trump underwear.
Oh,
But he's a dynamite guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have these discussions, and it's the same sort of thing. He says, yeah, well, you know, I wish the guys didn't show up and have face coverings and automatic weapons or semi-autos, whatever they're carrying. But, you know, we do have to get this situation fixed. I feel like a large majority of Americans agree with that.
yeah, I think they do. Most of the people I talk now, again, you know, we run in circles. That may not be, but I think it's a reasonable thing. And again, you know, I think people get confused about those who are illegal immigrants versus immigrants.
Yeah, yeah.
And truly, it's like, you know, if someone's an immigrant and they've done everything right, hey, fine. I don't want to discourage that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm stepping off the Manassas Ballet Board, but a lot of our ballet dancers are
immigrants.
yeah, immigrants. They get their work visas and so forth. And it's like, you know, if we didn't have that, our quality wouldn't be as good. I would say that. And so it's you know, we need to understand that, you know, if people want to come in the United States correctly with the way that, you know, things are done, fine. It's that illegal piece, and that illegal piece brings in the problems. Typically.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like, I mean, unrelated to the immigrants themselves, a lot of people in Washington play games with that issue, and you know, you end up with 30,000 people coming in and saying, "I'm seeking asylum," and that's the last they see of them. I understand those frustrations. I surely do, but we cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater like H-1B visas. I mean, these are smart people. Yeah. These are the people we want.
By the way, do you know where that's the euphemism or whatever the word is for baby out with the bathwater? Do you know where that came from?
No.
So I'm just paraphrasing, but basically in the old days when people took baths, they had only so much water, so everyone used the same water, and so the baby was always the one who got the last bit of water. So that's where that. I love trying to figure out where things like that came from.
Yeah.
Thought that was kind of cute.
All right, man.
Yeah, we there?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks for coming on, man.
You know, I was really excited to hear when you were deciding you wanted to do something like this. I thought it was really cool, and as I said, I've listened to the majority of these things. I think it's really great to have an opportunity for you and the people to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And, you know, let people hear some of this stuff that they may not normally hear about. And so kudos to you for doing it.
I try. I mean, the whole idea behind the thing was not, it never was to come in here and just hammer it out. You know, the city is paying too much money or whatever.
I'll let the politicians talk about that stuff.
Yeah, I don't love those things. But it was more to like the last one I published was with Mark Wolf. And I feel like a lot of the stuff, I mean, it's two guys, like kind of like with me and you. It's two guys who've known each other for a minute, right? We've got some history. And to get, so you talk about that some, right? But you also talk about, I ask them questions about like roundabouts and stuff like that. And you just don't get this kind of information. We don't have a paper anymore, right? And, Uriah and those guys, God bless them, they have a lot of ground to cover, though. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm a Manassas guy, so I'm going to try this. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, amen, dude. Keep it up, bud.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mike.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.